Today we are going to be making a crock-pot butternut squash soup. So the first thing we're going to do is prepare our ingredients. So the first ingredient that the recipe calls for is 2 cloves of garlic that are peeled and minced. So that's the peeling, and then you're going to cut or mince the garlic into small pieces. So I like to cut vertically and then horizontally. And then you're going to take that garlic and add it to the crock pot. The next ingredient is 2 cups of vegetable stock. So I use the fat-free organic vegetable broth. It's lower in sodium and healthier for you. And so 2 cups. And then you're going to add that into the crock pot. The next ingredient is 1 carrot peeled and diced. I like to keep my area clean. It's easy to get messy. So you cut off the ends. And then I like to cut it lengthwise first. Then you take them lengthwise and put all the edges, and then you dice it. Then you add that to the crock pot. The next item is a Granny Smith apple, and it needs to be cored and diced. So what I like to do is I like to use an apple cutter. It's easier to core that way, and you're not wasting as much apple. And so you're going to put it on the Granny Smith apple and press down. Okay. Then you're going to dice the apple. So once again, I like to cut lengthwise and then width. It's easier that way for me. And as you're cutting it, add it to the crock pot. The cuts don't need to be uniform because in the end it'll all be blended together. Last one. Okay. The next and main ingredient is the butternut squash, and you want it to be medium in size, not too large, but a good size. You cut off the end, which can be difficult. I get a bigger knife for this one. And then I like to cut it in half first. So you're going to use a spoon. It's just like a pumpkin and seed the inside of it out. Okay. Then you're going to peel it. I find that you waste a lot less if you use a carrot peeler, but it's also a little bit more. Okay, you're going to cut off the end. You're going to do the same to the other half. Alright, the next step is to dice the squash. So I like to do the inside of it down and then cut it lengthwise. It's going to be a little difficult. Okay, then you're going to cut it shorter wise to dice it. The smaller the pieces, the better, but it doesn't have to be super tiny. Then as you're cutting, add it to the crock pot. Okay, and then do the same with the other. And then the next ingredient you're going to add is a onion, and you're going to dice it. So I'm going to use the smaller one. You have to cut off the end. And then I like to cut it in half, keeping the base still intact. And then peel it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut lengthwise towards the end. And then I'm going to cut down the center. And you're going to add that to the crock pot. There's a couple of pieces in here that I need to pick out first. This allows me to go through this as well if there's like a weird piece in it. Okay, I'm ready. So that is what we're going to do first. I use iodized salt. And it calls for half of a teaspoon. I'm going to add that and sprinkle it on top of the crock pot. And then it calls for a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, ground pepper. 1/4 teaspoon. Sprinkle it on top as well. And an 1/8 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and this is just for taste. And sprinkle that on top as well. And then I'm going to add a pinch of both. And then once you have that stirred together really well, you're going to put the lid on it, and then you're going to cook. You can either cook it on high for 3 to 4 hours or on low for 6 to 8. And I'm going to cook it on high for 3 to 4. So after that 3 to 4 hours is up, I will be back at you. 4 hours have gone by and it's done cooking. So you're going to take off the lid and then use a handheld blender and mash all of it together. And you're going to mix it in as well. Once you have it to the taste of your liking, you scoop it out and it's ready to enjoy. Bon appetit!